Hi everyone. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to create some zip files in order to send them and deposit them in a long-term digital repository. So the first thing you want to do is to double-click the icon of the RODA-in app, and it will just open a window just like this. Just maximize this, and once you open the application, you'll see that there's three panels here that kind of inform you of what you should do in order to get the workflow going. So if you take the instructions on the left panel, the thing you should do is to choose a working directory. A working directory is it's basically a folder in your file system where you keep all the files that you want to use in order to create those zip files. You can choose any file in your system, or any folder in your system, or the entire hard drive if you want. I'll just pick up here in this example a folder where I keep some of the design projects that I've been working on. So the folder you chose is opened on the left panel here, and you can see that you have all the subfolders there and the files that you want to preserve. Now, the second thing you want to do is to open or load a classification scheme. Classification scheme is really a list of series or collections in your repository where you want to deposit those zip files that you are going to create. This file that you can load by clicking this button right here has to be exported from the repository where you want to submit the data. I'm not going to show that in this tutorial, so I'll just create a new classification scheme. This is basically an empty template where you can just create zips that will then be assigned to any part of the repository during ingest. Now, the instructions here are pretty clear. Just drop files or directories right here in the middle section, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So all of these folders here are design projects for different clients that we have, and each of these have several files, and most of those files are just design projects in Fireworks. I'll just select all of these folders right here, and I'll just drag them to the middle section. Now, the application shows three different options of association between the left panel, or the files and folders panel, and the classification scheme panel. This means that you have several options on how to create zip files from the original folders. The first option here, the selected one, tells you that it's going to create one zip per each of the folder that you just dragged from the left side of the panel. The second option allows you to create one single zip file that contains all the folders that you have dragged to the middle section. And finally, the last option, the third option, allows you to create one zip file for each of the files within the folders that you just dragged from the left side. Now, in this particular example, the option I want to take is the option number 1. I want to create one zip per folder that I just dragged from the left side to the middle section, because each of these folders is really a project, and I want to make sure that that's exactly what is reflected in the repository. Now, if I hit continue, I'm confronted with a new option, or a new series of options right here, and these are options for metadata. The first option allows me to create one metadata file for each of the zips that I'm going to create, and I can choose the template here. We have two templates configured in the app, so it can be EAD or Dublin Core. I'm going to choose EAD. The second option allows you to load an XML or a metadata, potentially XML metadata from a single file, and this option will assign this metadata file to each of the zips that you have created. So it's one single metadata file that is going to be assigned for or in each of these zips we are about to create. The third option allows you to load a file from the folder where you keep the data. You can say what's the name, or can specify what's the name of this file, and could even be a pattern, something like meta star, and it will look for that file and use that file as metadata for your zip file. And finally, the last option, which is disabled at the moment, allows you to take these metadata files from a file, from a folder somewhere in your file system. So if you keep all the metadata files in a given place, this is where the application will look for metadata. Oops, I just made a mistake. That wasn't the option I was looking for, so I'll just revert the process by removing the zip files I've just created. So remove. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So I just reassign those here, create one zip file per metadata, and I'll be using the first option right here, that is to create a metadata file for each of the zips based on the templates that we have already in the application. Okay, we can take a look at these metadata templates. They are shown right here. As you can see, it's EAD. You can change some of the metadata. You can change the title, you can change the dates, or the repository code, or whatever you want. And you can do that per zip. That's really what you can do by changing metadata. Of course, this metadata panel here could also be an editor. We're changing that to support an editor. On the next version, you will see that this is a metadata editor right there. So now we've created a series of zips. I just need to export these into somewhere in my file system. I'll just choose the output directory. There's a folder called zips where I want to export or to place those zips. I can choose the format, the output format, and we support two, we support Baget, and we support the eArc format. That's the one we want to choose right now, and we just click start. So what the application is doing now is it's taking all the files from your file system, it's zipping them, it's putting them in the right structure, and adding metadata based on the templates that are provided with the application. All of these files are going to be placed in different zips, and these different zips are going to be placed in the right folder in your file system. So we're all done. Let's just hit close the application right here, and let's see if we have any zips. Hooray, we have zips right here in the right folder. And you can see that this particular directory takes about 400 megabytes, actually 455 megabytes. So you can see that we've created a series of zips with a considerable size in a fairly short amount of time. So the next thing you want to do is take these zip files and send them to your repository by whichever means you have decided with the repository. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed.